Hi, I'm Jason Hazell of WHIP, and this is Can't Have Everything. One, two, three, four. I'm through with the tricks and this silly little game. If you juggling in this southern new fillet, you can't expect me to hold all these feelings in. And when you're ready, you can just come back again. I think I've made my message pretty clear. I'm not always going to be standing right here. It all comes down to this: you can't have everything. It's either gotta be or me. It's bound to be dangerous if you don't make up your mind. 'Cause I've been done with looking for a sign. 1, 2, 3, 4. You came out with me tonight, but you're seeing from afar. Have a playful chat and meet me at the bar. Only project that girl seems to need a guy. Oh wait, did I just switch back to the apple of the eye? All girls with your strategy just make me sick. You better change your act, you're losing me quick. It all comes down to this: you can't have everything. It's either gotta be or me. It's bound to be dangerous if you don't make up your mind. 'Cause I've been done with looking for a sign. Don't need to waste my time tearing up inside, going for a ride. You know I think you're fine, but you played a while, put me through this trial. You got a reconcile of going out in style. It all comes down to this: you can't have everything. It's either gotta be or you know it's see you later, honey. It's bound to be dangerous when you don't make up your mind. 'Cause now you wish I was looking for a sign. 1, 2, 3, 4.
That was dope, man.
Thank you. I don't think I've ever. So again, that was my friend who who moved to the other side of the country. Um, didn't have enough time to sell or figure out what to do with his guitar. That is a Martin. That is, I don't know anything about gear, but that is a nice guitar that should be cared further for. And that's probably the most I've played on it was just now. I don't know how old those strings are. My fingers have lost the calluses. It's cold. Like they
Damn.
have lost, but I've just so rusty. You don't have to like, of course, yeah, everyone has to make 17 different excuses if things don't go 100%. You don't have to leave this part in at all. But it's just funny that I'm like doing this. I'm like, this could sound like complete shit, and we're just gonna do it. So
Man, well. I don't know, man. I mean, you didn't sound rusty to me, man. You sounded very what you call it. I mean, but that's how like when you have gigs and doing it, you can take a few weeks off and do that. That's pretty great, dude.
thank you.
Um, that's fine. You know what? This is time for plug. This is also a time I should plug. Right now, I have a book. I did a whole. So this is technically chapter 6. What I'm doing this project with you is called "Shut Up and Speak," and um, as I said, it's more of an opportunity to sit back and hear you, and get a chance to celebrate and highlight artists that do this on a daily. And I think I decided that I'm the poetry podcaster dude. Like that's what I've been doing for the past 4 years now, which is crazy to say that I've been as similarly enough, right? For me, it came in the form of what am I going to do with this writing that I've been doing for a while. Plus, right now I've had to document. Um, I just found writing to be a therapeutic form of expression, but I've always done poetry. Like I've always so. I got a chance to turn it into a podcast, and at first it was individual episodes, and then it became a saga, like an adventure story. So now, what happens after the adventure story? It enters into the real world, and then finish chapter 5. That's a whole different scenario. And now what? Right now that I'm in the real world, like it's the best part about it is I get a chance to take Midas out of it, which is exciting. Like I've done all the Midas work. I feel like at this moment, obviously, like I'm still gonna write. I'm still gonna whatever. That's still gonna be part of who I am. But
The other thing of like that it's been awesome, and I really hope I didn't cut you off in the middle of your thought. But also, anytime that you want to do another one of these again, because I only will cut myself off because I know that you're looking to do this within a certain time limit, and I don't want to be too wordy. But I could. I think we talked twice as long when we just hung out after the bar drinking. After the open mic or whatever. So I can go on longer with this. But in doing like the one of the things that's been really cool about doing the open mic and just like I've gone to more music shows since the pandemic than I like in the first year or two I did probably than in my life combined before that because I was not like as much as I'm doing live music, I haven't ever been a huge live music person. I'll go see some of my favorite artists here and there, but like I'll hear people like, "Oh, I love this band. I went to see them like 9 times," and in my mind, like I don't know if I would see my number one favorite artist more than 4 times. It's just like it's for a few different reasons. Some of it is just doesn't stick with me. Some of it is just like I just love the original recordings. I'll just listen to recordings on nice speakers at home. That's just for whatever reason the same isn't for me, which is why I want to make the live show so interesting because I assumed for a while that everyone felt similarly to me, and I'm like, oh no, they love even if it's super mediocre, they just love the live experience, and I've started to appreciate that more. But one of the things I've really appreciated about that, and I get from the open mic also, is the fact of I think that okay, well, to perform, I have to do it this way, this way, this way, and everyone shows me that like, oh, there's this other thing that exists that I just never thought of and didn't know could exist. So like, doing poetry on the floor is like a fun little example, but there's like a lot of different things that I think that even for you when you did your poetry, one of the times um, Jordan, who I still actually don't think I even know his last name, but he goes by Guitar Man George.
Yep.
he would just like playing his. He comes and he would just do instrumental guitar for the first few times, and he
Yep.
would be like supporting you and a few other people just reading poetry, and I was like, oh, I that obviously makes sense. People take words and make poetry and put it to music, but this is not the same. This isn't a song. This is you are doing poetry and someone is playing background guitar music, and that was a cool thing.
Yeah.
And then I'm like creating these playlists of like people that perform at the show, and I would be like, well, I would put comedians on there, but a lot of comedians don't have their stuff on Spotify, understandably so. And you're the one outlier because you have a podcast for poetry, which is like, oh, of course that exists, and I didn't like that's just something that makes sense that it would be out there, but I wouldn't have necessarily known to think like or thought of that. So I get to add you to be a part of that as well. So that's just like another thing that's been cool about this journey of just being like there's so many different ways to do things and I want to highlight people, and it's just like, oh, here's just another thing, and now I can maybe use that in my arsenal to figure out like, well, I might not do this, but I'm going to steal all your cool shit and put it into mine somehow. I don't know. But it's just like getting to thrive and like learn from other artists about how to do art differently is an awesome thing to get to experience all the time.
You know, speaking of that, that's also you created a a culture, like so to speak. Like you've created a culture for at Sissy's. Like that open mic has an identity. I feel it, you know, and I think well that's what's really cool. Part of that is that playlist that you're talking about. Like, you know, I got a chance to chop it up with MCCB. Shout out to him as well. I wanted to, that he told me like that he got a chance to listen to my stuff, and he was like digging it. I was like, oh, cool, man. That was so, you know, and I'm glad that he again took the time to listen. But again, that couldn't have happened without you compiling that, which is again what if you need a testimonial for anybody who dares to listen to us. I think one of the things that you will find is that you will get that, and yeah, as I said, to have opportunity to connect in that way, that's the extra touch point, which is fire. So very thoughtful, very. So talk it out with you know what I mean, and get a chance to share. As I said, oh, the other thing is, I mean, you know, like this is for you know, like, you know, I think you okay? All right. Sorry, I'm so sorry, Jay.
No,
But
you're
yeah,
good,
you
man.
know, it's like
It'll be my turn in 10 minutes. I'm gonna be doing the same thing. I'm gonna be throwing my cat in the corner.
oh, I mean, listen, all pets are welcome here. I think this is going to be a pet friendly episode. So, but yeah, man, I think you know I want to hear from like other people. I think it's just inspiring hearing other people's like amazing tales, and you know, I did that at work when we were all miserable at the job. You know what I mean? And you know, now you know I've done podcasting with friends and on my own and things like that. I mean, so now I just want to be able to highlight and tell you know from yeah, it's wonderful people who make this art what it is, man. As I said, you know, so I just wanted to kind of yeah give you an opportunity to I don't know speak, share, chat, and yeah, feel super
Thanks.
comfortable to you know keep the conversation flowing, casual and regular. So. I just didn't want you to think that there was like any like oh we have to be super proper on these beats. No, I wanted to feel good. So
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. And it's also funny because like, I don't know how much of this was discussed like when we last hung out like after the open mic. So when I was just like I think I told you that like, oh, I had your name down for this day. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I guess we'll figure it out. And when you're like, oh yeah, interview, it wasn't until earlier this afternoon I was just like, is this for a job? Am I interviewing for a job? Do I want this job? And then when you gave me the details, I'm like, oh, you're interviewing me as a guest. Oh, got it. Like I was like, oh, this is incredible. Okay, I love this. I was gonna be all about it anyway, but until like 2:30 today, I was just like, is this a job?
that's
So
hilarious.
yeah,
No,
so I'm
all
all
right.
about this. This is great.
Yeah, no, well, I'm trying to do, I don't know, like four things at once. Speaking of job, like tomorrow is going to be like that day for me where it's going to be like, all right, do this. I'm going through the interview process myself as we're speaking about work, and I'm like, whew. Of course, there's always one hiccup. You know what I mean? Like around the deadline. Hey, this is not. You know, like this isn't verified. and basically I gotta do the work to call them. They're not gonna do that on my behalf. So, speaking of
Yeah.
work, that's a trigger word in this house. Penny, cover your
Uh,
ears. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
no, no. I mean, I get it. I feel like with more technology, it's supposed to help, and then it's just like, oh, you know, this thing that you sent in 13 times, none of it went through, and we're telling you the last second, and you should have sent it 2 days ago. Like it's just there's all these stupid technology things.
Yeah, man. Yo, yeah, it's wild. But I can go on for a couple of days about some of the stuff that some of the tech issues I've experienced. I had couple of tech outages today. My phone being one of them. So I got to get all tomorrow stuff. New phone wave. I'm excited. Yay. Um. So first, I want to take the time out to thank you for sitting down with me, man. This is a great opportunity. This is Jason Hazel. And I think I would like at this moment just to take a moment to explain my relationship with you and how I view you in the world, man. I want to just take the time and say thank you. I was actually just speaking with my mom about this, saying that you take your time, you work hard, you volunteer in the community, and then you do this, like and this, you know, taking your time out for others in the way that you do. I mean, it's a blessing, and it's not lost on me. I'm very thankful to have your time and get a chance to chat with somebody who, again, I find to be a special human in this world. So we're about to find out why. So, Jason, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Just a little bit about yourself, your journey, and then the things that led you to become who you currently are today.
Oh man, yeah, simple, easy stuff. One sentence could definitely do that. So my name is Jason, as you might have caught on. I live in Astoria, Queens. I moved here almost 10 years ago. Grew up on Long Island. Um, my whole thing, like right now, I've been, as you've been talking about, running the open mic. At Sissy McGinty's in Astoria, Queens. Been doing that I'm really getting close to 2 years of doing that. But I've been working on a lot of different art forms for a long time, but I've been kind of holding on to music for, I guess, tightest for, I guess, like close to a decade. Um, I really started out, and you can feel free to cut me off because I'm very wordy. Uh, um, but I started out like I think at 9 years old, I was just like, oh, I want to be an actor, and I started doing like my main access to things was like through theater. So I did like a summer workshop program. Then when like I was at an age where they were starting to do plays and musicals at school, I did that. I went into high school and did my first musical there, and my high school went like 10th to 12th, 7 to 9, 10th to 12th. So in 10th grade, I went in and realized like, oh, everyone around, like a lot of people around me are very good. So I'm gonna have to figure out something else, maybe in addition to that. So then I got into like screenwriting, or I had that interest of writing more, which I already liked writing, but I realized like I should probably do this a little bit more to see if I could. I was really influenced by like Good Will Hunting, and then I saw like Clerks and Kevin Smith movies, and I was like, oh, maybe if I write something good, I can put myself in it and go from there. And then later on, learn that like, oh, Long Island is just very uh, competitive with talent, and like one of the people that I did my first like musical in 10th grade um, at that school, one of them went to be on like the Rock of Ages like tour, and another one was I don't know if she was the understudy or if she was the first. Oh God, this is a terrible time to pronounce this wrong potentially, but Afelba on Wicked. Um, so like I had these people and like I knew they were talented. I was just like, oh, I guess these people are just the equivalent in all high school. So I gotta like level up and figure out something else. Not realize like, oh, maybe it's just unique to my area. Um, but I then like bounced around. I wrote stand up and I did that a few times. I've done like sketch comedy. I wrote plays. I jumped around and really did a lot of things, and then ultimately landed on music and stuck with that mostly because after doing all the other different art forms, it was the easiest way to go from like I have this idea to now I have a product that I can show people. Like I wrote plays and stuff, and that was great, but then I had to like go through all these things to arrange how to do that. I would have to cast people, get a location, sell tickets, do all that whole thing.
That's process.
Write a stand-up bit. I might not know if it's funny until I get a crowd. There's all these different things, but music was just like I want to tell a story, and I want to be the writer and performer. And then I did that with music, and I've still done a little bit of the other things, but I've really committed to music more so than anything else, and that's how I'm here now.
Well, that's awesome. So, I mean, you know, it usually I think anyone who has a specific talent or art style, you find yourself in different areas and different worlds anyway. Like you try out different places, and then you find yourself, you find a home where you either want to be, or whether you feel like this is my niche, this is what I'm doing, or this is like the thing that speaks to me most. Um, you know, is there any like motivation that um drives your music per se, or do you have any type of if you had to define your style, would you have to say like this is my particular like wave vibe or area?
If we're talking about genre,
Hmm?
uh, I mean, I really love like I a lot of more of like classic rock. I kind of tell people that like I did grow up and really love like '90s alternative, um, but I know that like the bands that I really clung to first were like Green Day, Foo Fighters, Audio Slave, which then worked backwards of like Rage Against the Machine and Soundgarden. Everyone else went the opposite way, went there and then got to Audio Slave, and Audio Slave was like eh. But I came across Audio Slave first and whatever. But I just really liked and then I fell in love with Chris Cornell and kind of went from there. I could name a bunch of John Mayer, Led Zeppelin, Sublime. I kind of just went all over the place. But I mostly just started with lyrics, and kind of that was what I really cared about the most. And then I tried to like do that with other people, and ultimately realized like I had to learn an instrument because I can't always depend that it's just better, it's easier if I had someone who was around me all the time to kind of play the backing instrument, then I would just do that.
Hmm.
But I learned guitar, and then it really was just like, all right, well, this is the idea of the song that I have as far as like the story that I have. Now I'm going to most of the time I would do that and figure out how I would want that to be, how to sing that, and then have the guitar accompany that, and then work everything else around that. So for me, I kind of think that because a lot of my roots come from alternative rock, that sounds like that, but I usually need to ask other people what my stuff sounds like because I just feel like I'm too close to it. So I'll put like a song out or something, and someone's like, "Oh, that sounds really ska," and I was like, I don't hear any trumpets, so I never would have guessed that. But you know more about music than I do, so I'll take that. But I feel like everything is generally alternative rock adjacent.
Turn rock is, yeah. Oh, that's really cool. So then, in that case, I know you're a member of the band Whip, and if I'm not mistaken, the lead singer of the band Whip, right?
Yeah, Whip. Uh, Whip is almost like this interesting, ambiguous entity that I will have to like define at some point. But basically, like I'm Whip. It's what it really comes down to is I don't want to. I don't know if it's. I just didn't really want to go around like being like perform as an artist under my own name. I wanted to be part of a band, and there's just something that was just tough for me to be like, "Hey, everyone, here's Jason Hazell," and come up. I don't know why. I just wanted to be a band idea because I ultimately wanted to at least be a four piece. And I've in the past few years jumped around whether that's going to be a full time band members, and I've done that. And then people would move or have other lives. It's really tough to get even just like three or four single dudes who live in the relative same area to get together for rehearsals in your 30s. It is very difficult. So I've had to now just be like, sometimes Whip is me. Sometimes Whip is the three people that I have around me that works. If someone's not available, I grab someone else. Um, but I like again look to like Dave Grohl, the Foo Fighters, that like it's can just be him. He's always me Foo Fighters. He can't get kicked out of his own band. He usually it's kind of goes by whatever he does. So that's almost how I look at it. And sometimes I look at it as like I don't know anyone is familiar with like Steely Dan. But at the end of the day, a lot of times they're just like here's a song, this is what we're doing, whatever is the best musician for the situation, that's how it's going to be. So when recording comes around to next situations, it might be closer to that, but it's WHIP is really just Jason Hazell that doesn't want to go by Jason Hazell.
Okay, I mean, I think from what it sounds like to me, it sounds very it's a band of self sufficiency. So if if it expands and it has more members, great. If it's just Jason, it's still the band, which is very cool because it never loses its essence. That's very, and I understand. I mean, personally, I think that's very cool because yeah, like I understand that aspect of things. When at a certain point, you don't want to ask anybody to commit any further to their life beyond the life that they live. You got to be like, I still want to do this stuff, and the fact remains, you still get a chance to make music, perform, and give back. So that leads me, I think now. Oh, before I ask, I want to ask in terms of the band, what was your favorite recorded song, and then a milestone that you experienced in your time as the band with.
Um, so this one's sort of tough uh, because like I'll record something and then you know it, they're all little favorites, they're all little babies, and it's tough to pick. Um, I the first one that I recorded, and I've recorded so many different versions of this. Actually, I think I'll say there's like multiple versions that can't have everything. Um, the one that is most easily obvious is the one that's the single on Spotify at the moment. That was the first thing that got me on the Spotify. Released that in August of 2021. I think that was like right around my birthday um, at that year. So that was really exciting. Um, and that's what I would consider like my signature song. I feel like I have a few things. I have many more songs that I've written than are what is represented on Spotify. I think I've probably have like 25 written songs. I play the same like 3 to 6 that are like at when I do the open mics.
Yeah,
But it's that one. I'm really happy with how um, A Night at the Bar came out. That one came out this past March, and then it's not just a single song, but it's me and my band did a show at Pianos in Manhattan, not this past summer, but the summer before, and last in late November released the album of like that live set, and that's basically like 9 songs.
that's fine.
So I'm really happy at how that went because that's not perfect, but it is a live representation, and it's probably closest to how I want some of these songs to ultimately sound. Um,
Yeah,
so that's 3 answers, and one of those 3 is like 9 songs. But
that's fine.
yeah.
So now, how did your open mic come together? Like, how did you and Sissy McGinty's like find the gel pairing that creates our monthly experience?
So one of my friends who I have to give a shout out to, Chris Harris, but he goes by MCCB. He and I have been friends, good friends since 20 the math. I think it's 2018. Um, but so basically, once we initially started linking up, um, we started like just like sending each other tracks or songs. And here comes my cat, who's going to decide to rip apart every piece of mail. Hey, bud, you're cute, and you're not on camera, but you're stealing the show right now. So he and I like have just been constantly looking for opportunities and where we can perform. And I've worked in like event, like I've also like been working as production for a job for, yeah, now it's a decade. Um, at least as far as like a regular gig. So I've gotten used to like figuring out like, okay, if I were to do a show somewhere, where would I do it? Where are the outlets? How would I set this up? Where would I put the drum kit? Those kind of things. And I've just gotten into that mindset. So I went to Sissy McGinty's because that was my regular bar for a while at that time. And basically, I went in with Chris, and I'd been there enough that I had known the bartenders at that point. So I went up to Gwen Marshall, who was one of the bartenders at the time, And I was like, hey, we're kind of just stopping in for a few minutes, looking around. So we went in and we were basically just being like, hey, we're just going in for a second to see if we can do a show here. So we'll probably be in and out in like 5 or 10 minutes, looking in the back room, whatever. Bud, nope, I love you. You're gonna get a little shout out. Hey,
Hey,
he's a cutie, so he's only not cute when I
you got
decide to do these little
your
videos.
sweetie.
And
Oh,
now I can go.
yeah, she adorable too.
Yeah, I lucked out. I lucked out big time with this cat.
Mm.
Uh, um, So yeah, went into Sissy McGinty's just to look around with the hopes of eventually talking to someone to see if we could do a show there. But it was just like that was in November, so we weren't trying to do a show the holiday season. But I would say either the following like a month or two later, Gwen then reaches out to me and says like, "Hey, would you be interested in running an open mic at Sissy McGinty's?" And I was like, an opportunity for me to showcase my music and then bring other people around and get them involved. Um, when I've had experience doing production and like doing talent shows, yeah, it would be stupid to say no to this. Let's give this a shot. And then she was like, okay, thank God, because if you said no, I had no one else. And then I kind of just did it. It started as a weekly thing. And then after a few weeks, the first one had like a huge crowd. And then after that, the second one was like Valentine's Day, where there's like 3 people, including me. And then after a few more, it became monthly. And I'm grateful for that pace because doing that every week would be exhausting.
Oh yeah, weekly. I, I'm sure. I'm sure it would get traction, but yeah, it would also take a big toll. Like it's a big commitment.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and if if it was if the pay was a certain amount, then I would do it and like make that my thing. But until I could make that, what I'm surviving off of once a month is fine.
Correct. Correct. So you know, I think you alluded to this or you answered it in a way, but I think I wanted to ask you like I think specifically like what are your thoughts on being a host, an open mic host?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's funny because I wasn't really sure how I was like. It's weird. I've realized that like in when you learn how to do a bunch of different things, you feel like you always have to do all of those. So, for example, like one of my friends, he is a crazy talented musician. He can play like at least 6 different instruments, and he can do a lot of that stuff by ear. So, when he showed me songs that he was working on, he felt like he had to put every single piece of knowledge and then mix it and do the mastering and do all these things. I think it was slowing him down because he had to do all these different things, and it's just like it's way easier for me to put my songs together because I only know 2.5 instruments, so whatever. But I felt that way with running the open mic because I was like, okay, well, I need to figure out how to run this show. I have to plan it out properly. I have to advertise it, and and I'm doing it to support my music as well. I want to highlight other people, and I should open it and set people up, and also like do stand up in the beginning too. Like I was almost looking at myself as like a Conan O'Brien kind of situation. And as time went on, I kind of realized like things will develop. I'm not going to knock it out of the park right from the beginning. And then because the fact that there are a lot of comedians that showed up, I kind of backed off on trying to be funny. Like I'll put in a joke in here or there,
Yeah.
but I realized that one of the things that was important to me was kind of like being authentic and trying to find things that were genuine because in the past few years, like I've only been on Instagram since 2020, so I was very late into the game in that. But there is so much of just like influencers and all this different levels of performing, and I think it's awesome what is now like allowed. When I was writing sketches, I was just like, well, I'm not going to shoot this sketch because I don't know if I want to get all this clothing and shoot all the different shots, and then you just have people that are in the same clothing just from this angle, then this angle, and it gets like 20,000 things or whatever. So um but the aspect of it is I feel like there's some authenticity or some realness that's lost or like manufactured or fake authenticity.
Mm.
So I really tried to lean into doing that a little bit more and be like, let me try to like run this efficiently, do my music, but also be maybe like try to be a good real person to these people as well.
Yes.
And once I real and also like if I did comedy, like I don't want to try to write the like 5 minutes every single time. I could, but that would be like a little bit of a stressful thing. if they're comedians that are relatively new or they're trying it out for the first time or they've done this a bunch of times and I'm opening the show and I happen to get some good laughs with my jokes and then someone who comes on and is a comedian and that's why they're there and their jokes don't land as well. Not to say that would necessarily happen, but then I would feel terrible because like I'm just here running the show and now I'm kind of overshadowing that person or I'm setting someone else up who wants to try some new jokes and it would just like I've had such a situation before where someone would tell me that like my jokes did better than in that particular moment than someone who'd been doing it for a while and it's like I felt worse like it was awesome that I did well enough that I got that reception but you know this one set isn't representative of how someone's going to go. This is also an open mic, so this is people trying new material, this is people trying out new things that they haven't done before and I just didn't want to set people up for like a nervousness kind of situation. I'd rather keep it like this should be relaxed, this should be fun, try some new stuff. One of the things I say at almost all the open mics now is the fact of like there's that line that's 10,000 hours to become a master at your craft, and we're all different parts of those 10,000 hours. So, like, some people are just like they're just coming through. This is part of their tour thing, and maybe they just want to get a few more people. And this is someone that like they have never done, maybe they've never done song or poetry in live situation before, and this is hour 10 for them. So I just want to realize that like I don't have to do too many things. I just have to do fewer things less and be a human to these people. And luckily, I mean, like I think this us having this conversation is proof that like it worked out because it seems like we got along well because I didn't expect that like being a good person was going to go to this degree. It's kind of I feel like not a cool encouraged thing to a certain degree when we're in like high school or whatever. And sometimes it wasn't great in our 20s. I'm like, oh, this actually is working in my favor. Cool. I will try to do that and see if it helps out other people. And here we are.
I think you spoke to a few things in you know your reflection. I think one of the things that really stood out to me was the fact that you took a look at you know a situation and you say just being a good person how it works out. There is like a cosmic reward for the work that you do out of acts of sheer kindness without any ask of reciprocation in some type of way. Um, Shout out to content creators as well. You had going back to uh, of any type. I think at one point I did have a misconception about the type of work that it takes to be good in that area. Not everybody steps in, everybody gets in front of a camera, to but very few do it with such attention grabbing like acumen. And there's we can go down a list of few people who are like, my gosh, at this point on a social media standpoint, you turned yourself into a household name. I mean, and you know what? I'm actually I never do this, but I'm gonna do it here with just like a few people who I have in the top of my head that I am going to give a shout out to that I absolutely do not know. Here we go, Jason.
Do it.
I mean, shout out to a guy like Tony Baker. I feel like I see all of his stuff everywhere. But like his just grassroots efforts as a comedian from start to now. I mean, I'm loving to see that that there's growth for him in that avenue in that area. As I said, somebody I don't know, but you could just kind of tell like this person really like took the craft seriously and was like, you know what, fully committed. The Rivera brothers, I mean, that Jim the Gentrifier shit is hilarious.
Yes. Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Tim Hahn with the skids, love that. The wrestling on the train cars, love all that shit, man. I mean, you know, not to say that it's easy to pull off because I'm very certain that it's a whole production to even make it look that clean, like. But at the same time, like, hey, I understand now that there's a method to the madness, but also there is, you know, a legit commitment. Everybody has a different level of commitment to different discipline of what it is, right? I like the art. I like doing my craft. I like writing. I enjoy that, right? But at the same time, writing isn't the business aspect of the work, right? And you got to be able to kind of encompass all of that.
Yeah. Before you go to your next influencer, because I didn't know if you were still going that list, but I know about Jim the Gentrifier that bit because um, that dude, he like you said, he does like the subway fights or whatever, wrestling things. My friend is the Machoverse guy who impersonates Macho Man Randy Savage, and he's like so through him I got to learn about like the Jim the Gentrifier, but like that guy Machoverse, I have to now also shout out him. Aaron Jacobs, I went to college with him, and when I did like my freshman year of college, he was in the first play that I was at in college, and like so it's just very funny because we did like we helped like signed up for sketch classes around the same time, like 2011. We did a show together, and it's just crazy that like he's a teacher and we've done like things tangentially here and there. He's always been interested, and then he put in a lot of work and they're just committed to this macho bit, and he's been like doing the wrestling thing for a long time, but he did that and now he's got like a crazy amount of views, and every month it just like he hits another milestone, and it's been like I think under 3 years, and it's crazy now that I've like a few people in my life that I'm like, oh, they now have a crazy amount of followers, and I've just known this dude for like 15 years. So, yeah, shout out to him as well.
That's fantastic. It's a small world, right? Like 6 points of separation, definitely. Like you don't, yeah. Somehow especially in the New York City bubble, like you just everybody kind of knows somebody who knows this person, and then all of a sudden, like again, um, we are where we are. But I wanted to now ask. I think running an open mic and committing to that, do you think that, we talked about the work that it takes. We talked about 10,000 hours. We talked about, the content creators who are out there kicking ass and committing to their work. And, so running an open mic, do you have any advice for any of those who are jumping into it, joining it? I was just saying, I'm relatively new to it myself. So, as I said, I do it bi-monthly, so I do it every 2 months. And that's just the same similar premise, right? Aftermath NYC is a bar within the community that has a very unique vibe and a warm, welcoming feel. I got a chance to meet, the great owners slash bartenders and staff there, and from there, now we have a connection. So I'm starting that for myself. So you know what? I'm going to ask on my behalf, but asking on behalf of those who are also looking to jump into this. What advice do you have for any newbie in the open mic space?
Um, so one thing I will say that like uh helped me out for sure is just like I just did like a lot of like I said earlier, like a lot of random different production stuff. I started doing stuff on the stage, but then I like eventually started doing like stage managing at a like local theater in the early 2010s, and then I've like done a lot more behind the scenes work. So I really benefited from like a place of like just having a lot of production stage on off. Um, so like you know I think if I'm doing it well from my first time, it's just because like I've organized talent shows and done little things that were like basically practice runs for this open mic thing that I had no idea it was going to last this long or whatever it was going to be. But so like if that's not your background and you don't need to do that, I think it definitely made my life easier. I don't know if I didn't have those things, if I would have kept doing this. But for me, if this is something that you want to do, I think ultimately it's just like you just want to serve everyone, is essentially like that's kind of however I go into anything that's not like this is my music that I'm creating or my art that I'm putting out there. If it's not that, if I'm on a production in any capacity, if I'm running a show, like whether I'm the host of it or not, it doesn't matter ultimately. I want to not look stupid in whatever way that I'm doing things. But at the end of the day, as long as I'm serving whoever else is like there, I'm serving the people who are performing. I'm serving the bar. I'm serving the audience members, and I'm just trying to do it to the best of like all those abilities. And sometimes like, and I really haven't gotten a lot of um hey, you should do this better. I think there's only one that I can think of, which was like a fair comment is like, well, if there's a way that I could not block the area from like where people perform to the bathroom, so someone doesn't feel awkward passing by, which is a very valid thing. Um, but and I've even wanted to get to a point that like the next open mic, which is going to be a week from today, plug. I don't know when this is airing, so it might not even it might not be apply at that point. Um, but it'll be that my next one after this air or this recording will be my 25th, and I think I'm getting to a point that I might ask people like, what can I do to make this better, as an artist, as an audience, as whatever. But at the end of the day, it's just sort of like I go in and I try to. The open mic is supposed to start at 8 o'clock, so I usually want to try to get there by 7 o'clock, so I have an hour time to set up. I want to. I now have like notes that I'm like getting to the point that I'm just reading what the things say, so I'm getting everything right. God bless you. Um, uh, I want to get the equipment right. There's a few times I had one drink before starting it, but ultimately I really try not to drink because I don't want to be anywhere off my A game. If I have to fix like a cable, if I have to introduce someone when I'm performing myself, I'd rather be like clear headed. But it's really just like just a reminder of ultimately again like you were there to serve everyone else. Be the best you can be in all those ways. Be more or be as organized you can. Be as professional as you can. Um, yeah, just do it for everyone else.
It is a balance, you know. I think you speak to it right. You know, it's everything in total. You know, I think the major thing that is important is what they call to respect the space, right? And I think it's an important aspect to thank the place that houses you in the best possible way that you can. And I think that's one. And then yeah, obviously like catering to the the talent that is there who are performing, who are taking the time out to do that. So yeah, I can see that as well. So I appreciate that perspective.
I think there's also one other thing that I can add, which is sort of important to me, is like don't try to be cool, and I mean that in like a like I like I said like I'm if you haven't figured out like I'm very much try to be a perfectionist. I want everything to go right. I want every note that I sing or play to be right. If I'm doing a little joke here, if it fails, I'm like, ah, crap. Like I whatever. I don't know if we're cursing on this, so I'm gonna like not for the moment. Uh, I just want everything to be right in every way, and if I have everything like pre-written out or memorized, I can be smooth. If I try to do something off the cuff, sometimes it lands and sometimes it very much doesn't. And because like we're in I'm a straight white guy that's serving an open mic in Astoria, Queens, in a very diverse area, and that's something that I was also very mindful of because I feel like by being having people come to this, I feel welcomed because I kind of feel like I'm a visitor in a very diverse area. Being a white kid and growing up in a lot of white area, Long Island, I'm very grateful that people that don't look like me or act like me want to come up to my open mic. That sort of like blows me away, and the fact that people come in and like I talk to them, we're talking as humans, as people or whatever, and I feel like that shouldn't be something to be excited about, but it is to me because I know that it doesn't always line up that way. So when I say be cool, try not to like don't worry about being cool. I mean that like there are certain times, especially like having done stand up in the past, and there's a lot more that flew in like the late '90s, early 2000s on stand up. Like it's cool to be edgy. If I try to be edgy in certain ways and be cool, it's very quick that I could lose certain people. It's another reason why I don't want to do the stand up thing because if I do one off color joke, people look at me as a host, not a stand-up comedian. If I'm hosting the thing, I might have just lost 5 people, and those 5 people might have in the future could have been like another 20 that don't recognize that I'm just trying to do something to fit in or be cool or have fun. I'm now accidentally offended something that I didn't know about, and I already am a person that wants to like make people feel good and comfortable. It's not worth this stupid off-color joke to like for people to feel comfortable in a community to like whatever. So if I guess just like also if you're hosting it, play it safe. rather than trying to like get the quick laugh in certain situations. Or if you feel like you might screw up, just be a real person, go talk to them or whatever. Just be like, "Yep, I fucked up. I said it this way. I meant it this way. Hopefully, we're all on the same page. Carry on." So
Yeah. No, I think yeah, that's catering to an audience or knowing the audience and what you're serving is important. Playing it to to make it as inclusive as possible, right? I think that's really important. I think that's what you speak to, but I think, um, but yeah, I mean, but the way that you actively do that, I think, you don't teach that, like that's something that, a lot, as I've told you in our more private conversations, I've said that, like people are coming, people are showing up to this for you, like there's off the strength that it's you. So, that you provide this opportunity, this place, this time. And, I also am appreciative that in a time where poetry and music and comedy is at a high because we have many talented individuals out there who show up to your open mic alone, not to mention all of the other ones that are out there. It's relieving that when you get to go to this particular place, there's two things that are really amazing about it, right? It's popping that it's a free open mic that you go to that you set up. That's fantastic. The second part to that is really that we really enjoy is the fact that there's just a whole different range of people who are performing, and you have your consistent performers who are there, and then you have people who who pop in, and there's like that artist that you're like, oh wow, this person is great. I can't wait to catch them again at at another mic, at a concert, at wherever. They're going to be somewhere. You're going to cross paths with them somewhere else, and there is like there's a bond. There's a set of bonds that are formed. Like at this point, so yeah, man. I mean, that's cool. Some of that stuff that I think about being cool. I think you're cool based off the strength of who you are as a person. And I think what you truly spoke to, from what I was hearing, was you weren't inauthentic. You were being your complete self. And I think you explained what that looks and sounds like, in a very practical and important way. So I want to highlight that.
thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the inevitable question for you, Jason, is what are your next steps? What do you have going on? Like what projects? Where are you performing? What's next for you?
So it's funny. I guess this is always the question, but I have like a few people who I am in pretty regular contact with, who I've been grinding with this for. You know, I've mentioned MCCB earlier, and then I have like my producer friend and whatever. And I just like set up like a Google Doc because I'm obsessed with organizational documents. um, and which is what makes me that's really what makes me cool. Um, Docs and Google Sheets is what makes me awesome. So I was like kind of be like, what are your goals, and like let's figure this out realistically. So I just shared that with them a few days ago and started writing my own stuff. But for right now, it's um, I said that I released the um like the pianos album for WHIP of like when we played our live set. This month I'm in the past few days I've been like sitting down and writing blurbs because I want to like post each like video individually as well as the songs that are on Spotify individually, and with each one of those like post like a kind of a dedication to one of the people that helped make that project happen. And I'm making that like a social media thing that I'm trying to do because I'm great at sharing. I'm gonna host an open mic, but as far as my own stuff, I'll
Yeah,
post it once or twice and then not do it, and that's a whole other job.
sure.
Which is why I'm trying to be like for January, I'm just posting these videos and doing this. I am. I've been trying to release this EP for a long time, but I'm still finishing up a certain piece of it. I'm trying to finish this 6-song EP um, for March. 3 songs are already released, and 3 as singles. The other 3 will just come out with the album as a whole. Um, the song that I did, "A Night at the Bar," that's with a different producer, Adam Tilzer, who I'm any second going to start working with him. I've already like trying to for a LP for a longer album. Um, I'm working with MCCB on. He released Tokyo SOS last year, which is an awesome album, but he wants to like do a rock version of it. So me, my cousin Brett, who's also my guitarist and a lot of things, are helping turn that from keeping the rap but making more of a rock background. Um, and then like I don't have any specific planned shows other than when I do open mics. I'm really just like I really try to do while I'm playing shows and then recording music and putting it out there and doing social media. And I thought I could do all that once, and I'm just like, nope, I really got to do this in chunks because we also have jobs and we have other things and like people and friends and all these whatever. So I want to go back to the gym. Haven't done that nearly as much. So there's all these things like as adults we have to do. But so right now I'm trying to like take time to block out into little chunks. But um, I would like to do at least 2 shows as WHIP before the within this year, not at open mic situations. Release the EP in the next few months. Um, Promote piano show, settle a bit more. I don't know if I'll release the LP, but at least get recorded on that, and then work on the Tokyo SOS with MCCB, and then also help produce another album that I would probably be playing bass on and maybe doing some background vocals for. I mentioned my cousin Brett. Um, he's a guitarist. My cousin Jerry, who's now been my drummer lately, they've had a project called Vagabonds for a while. That's more of a classic rock blues style, and I want to get that music onto Spotify and do that. So I've a lot of things that I'm trying to do, which is why I have to map out and plan and be like, well, in Q1 we're actually be working on this. So break it down month to month and try to make it realistic.
So sounds like an eventful year. I respect how you paced yourself throughout the time to kind of, I think that's the only way we get all these projects off the ground. I think even when we connected on this particular thing, it was like, I have this going on, so I'll schedule it here and we'll make it happen. So yeah, again, very thankful for that. But I'm glad that you have all of this amazing stuff going on, and especially when you do your performances, I look forward to at least going to one of them to come and support you. So keep me posted on that. That sounds awesome. I mean, I think the last and important thing is where can we find you and how can we support you?
Um, so that is also a goal that I'll have to work on as far as like the website stuff. Right now, the easy thing is Instagram. I am Jason.thebandwhip, and I'll spell it out JASON period THEBANDWHIP. I also have another like the band whip is just also its own thing. Man, is it hard like managing multiple Instagram profiles. That is not what I was built for. I could barely manage a Facebook when I did that. Not that we should be worrying about managing the social media profiles, but as artists we have to. But yeah, Jason.thebandwhip. Um, no spaces in there. That's the easiest way. Spotify, you can look me up under WHIP. There's multiple WHIPs, so if you want to put WHIP can't have everything, that would probably be an easy way to kind of go from there. Didn't know until after I released that song that Drake has a song called Can't Have Everything. So you can't just type in that song and whatever. Anything that you've thought of as an artist or a singer, it already exists on the internet. It's impossible.
Nothing new under the sun, but
yeah,
somehow, some way, there's always some unique tweak, and as I said, I mean, whether it's discovered or undiscovered, I think people find it. I'm now enjoying that aspect of things and saying, oh my gosh, that I can see the commonality in that, or I can see, wow, this person went here with that. Like I like, as I said, now I like stuff like that. But yeah, man, that's awesome, dude. I mean, as I said, looking forward to supporting, looking forward to having the opportunity to connect with you again on a future project because I know, yeah, definitely not the last time. Any final words first?
Um, I have one thing that I want to say, and maybe along the way there, my brain, something else will kick in. But what? Well, first off, I also want to do this interview thing, and that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Is like being like the host and asking other people. And I think like doing the open mic has certainly like I want to figure out how to do that in the open mic setting in a way that'll keep people entertained or whatever. And I had like a certain idea of how doing it, and like so it's awesome to be the recipient and watching you do this because you're doing all the things that I'm like, oh yeah, that's kind of how I would do it too. So it's awesome that like you're great at this, and it's good to be on this side of it. So I'm like, okay, this is how you do it. Awesome. And I very much appreciate your support in having come to the open mics because I am someone. I think I said this to you another time. It's like I'm someone that needs to get the same compliment 100 times from you. Like, huh, maybe I am kind of good at that thing.
Yeah.
And uh, so it's awesome when I have, and like I wouldn't have been where I am. Like, I'm very hard on myself. I mentioned the perfectionist thing. If people weren't like kind of supportive in a strong way, I definitely would have given up on things a while ago. And you being as like supportive and emphatic in just coming to like even just like the first or second open mic, and then in the last one being like, "Hey man, you're good at this. Own it. Like, don't be like surprised that people keep showing up." And I was just like, "All right, well, I guess I have to own it. Shit. Well, all right, here we are." So I want to say thank you for that because it's been really awesome to like uh, MCCB, who's come to the most of these, or the person who's come to the most of these is him, and he's been like, you've kind of created a little community here, and I was like, I might have curated something at Sissy's because they didn't have this thing beforehand, but I don't feel like I'm still feel like I'm trying to figure out how to be a part of this community. I've helped kind of be in a situation, and you're one of the few people that I've really been able to talk to afterwards and have a real conversation. I would love to like finish the event, and if I could just take all of my equipment and just teleport it into my apartment, perfectly sit, and then have drinks with everyone who performed there, I would absolutely do that. But it's like midnight a lot of the times, and it's a weekday, and it just doesn't allow for that. So, um, you supporting in that me in that way and like just being very vocal about it because I think one of the first ones you came to was maybe like last March or something. I think you've only been coming to these for like less than a year, so getting to like that level where you showed up to one to now we're doing this interview is awesome, and I'm very appreciative of like you inviting me on to do this. um so yeah, so that's awesome. So you're being nice and giving everyone their time and flowers. I'm giving you your flowers. Thank you so much for having me on here. And then, do I have any final thoughts other than so many long thoughts that I already have? I think what I've, the thing that I've really connected with in the past year, and is the fact of like, I've learned, and I was kind of saying this in the same way of like, if you were to do an open mic, if you are try to be a really good person, and you work really hard and you're paying attention to your surroundings, like I think that's just what if you want to succeed, like I've learned that that's kind of my direction in life now. I've settled in this idea that like a few years ago I was like I'm going to work my ass off and do everything I can with this music thing. I wrote so many songs for a certain amount of time, but I wasn't really ready to perform them live. And then I had the pandemic, and I happened to live with a guy who was interested in learning and like doing more stuff on drums. And I was able to develop what people see now. But like I had written songs for like over a decade, and I didn't feel comfortable playing guitar standing up, which is crazy. That's just, I'm always sitting down in this chair writing stuff or whatever. And I was going to be like, all right, I'm just going to go as far as I can with this band Whip, and I'm still going to try it, but I've now had more of a give and take situation where it's sort of like if I'm like asking the universe, like if you let me have my silly little art and I can have fun with it, people enjoy it, then I will work my ass off to help highlight other people and be there for them, so I can support my cat who doesn't pay a fucking ounce of rent. Um, but also like it's awesome to be like just doing a small thing for other people's journeys is awesome. It makes me happy, and seeing able other people like thrive and grow, and I don't have to have this entire like thing on my shoulders and this burden of doing everything. But yeah, just like work hard, be a good person, be aware, and I don't know, whatever the best case scenarios of like how treated people how you want to be treated. I don't know, I don't want to sound like lame and corny and all this stuff, but like again, this is something that in my teens I was like, I feel like this is what people tell you to do, but does it actually work out for you? And I feel like my experience, especially in the past few years, is like, yeah, it really does work out for you. Like it comes back for you. So it's worked out for me. It should work out for other people. That's what I got.
Right. Yeah, inspiring. Thank you for that. Yeah, and I think to add on to that, I may cut my own part out. I may just close out with yours. But to add on to that, you know, we don't get what we want in the way that we expect a lot of the times. And when we least expect it too. And it ends up being infinitely better than however we conceptualize in our own minds. And that it doesn't have to be the biggest thing, but it is when you know it's the thing, it is the thing. And it's happened. It's happened a couple times already in some ways. A few times already in some ways. And as I said, we always look forward to the growth and the journey. And I know you're still on that journey, so that's going to be pretty amazing to see the next level of I found myself that I'm great at this, and now I'm performing at Rockefeller Center or what do they call that? Radio City. There you go, Radio City Music Hall. Like so maybe the band Whip will have a date there, or I'll be able to watch that performance. As I said, I'm excited.
Thanks, man. And I'm glad to see, like, last time you did the open mic thing, you were doing poetry on the floor, and now and that has now turned into poetry doing push-ups. But it was when I when I shared that, like, as I'll for the people who don't know, if you come to my open mics, as I'll get everyone's Instagram and I'll like do boomerangs and I'll try to get like a video. It doesn't always work out because sometimes my phone will crap out, but for the most part, I try to do that every time. And when I happened to get your like while you were doing your poetry on the floor, and someone else, I don't know if you've met her. I don't know if she was at the same open mics that you were at, but she was just like something along the lines like, "Love that this is how this is going." Like in a very like, and I could tell she's a sarcastic person, but I know she was being genuine. That like, oh, I love that he's doing poetry on the floor.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, shakes
Oh,
things
love
up a bit.
that. Oh, that's fire. Thank you. Thank you. That made my day. Oh my gosh. Well, oh yes. All right. So, as what are you feeling today? Like, what's the tone, the tenor, the vibe?
I don't know if this is too vague, but I was gonna say maybe deep with some sort of positivity.
Deep with some sort of positivity. Yeah. All right. Deep with some sort of I think I can do that. Da 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 da. See, I gotta change my glasses first. These are the.
Gotta get the character.
All right. My name is Midas. I'll be performing Moving Day. With tears in my eyes, I packed up all my stuff, not knowing what I was walking away from. I wouldn't yet know what I'd be walking into. Most of my items, condensed into shopping bags that I'll be lugging with me for the long ride home, felt heavier than usual. Whereas there would usually be a celebration of sorts, a lasting memory where you would get your proverbial flowers, this time I was fortunate enough to get a few rosebuds, this pat on the back, and the iconic good luck with your future endeavors. Yeah, definitely. We'll be in touch. We'll get together in a couple of weeks, and what that really means is we'll be losing touch indefinitely. So as I reflected for all of those 2 stops into my long commute home, I knew then what I would come to find out very soon. This would be the last day I would ever live my life in comfort. I woke up to the weekend. Anticipation, expectations, the prospect of new creations and new relations. The longest 2 days ever, and yet I kept my patience. Monday comes. I pick my head up off the pillow. It's moving day. I grab the stuff I think I need. I make my way toward the door, out the house, to the train, through the tunnels, only to resurface down this corridor of bricks and trees encapsulated by a ceiling of sky. I follow a maze of misdirection, unaware at the time of the shortcuts that would lead me to what I could only describe as Wonderland. Door opens. I step inside. It's warm. It feels as if the rays of the sun are bottled up, but I did not yet know where this energy was coming from. The one thing I did know, however, was that whatever feelings which existed in the outside world did not enter with me. I was somehow somewhere else. Weary traveler, are you hungry? I felt like I was at the start of a quintessential hero's journey and the thrill of adventure took over. I would go on to meet the source of this warmth, the living batteries that moved around this building, offering knowledge, wisdom, hospitality, and a smile. From the youngest adult to the eldest child, I was welcomed. Usually, I was the one who rolled out the metaphorical red carpet for others and was labeled above and beyond for that. Here, I was just another face in the crowd. And truthfully, I loved it. Then, I would go on to meet the all-stars who I would have the privilege of calling my team. Friday, I was the big dog. Monday, I'm the run to the litter, and I am blessed to have found my pack. Speaking of pack, I would begin to unpack my items now as a minimalist, placing down my cup, which bears the first letter of my name. The day ends. As I walk out of Wonderland, back into the world that you know, registering what I just walked into, everything that I just walked out of, a tear almost comes to my eye. I feel lighter than usual. Poem. was that deep and positive?
Deep positive shit.
Yeah, deep positive shit.
It's cool because like when you're when stand up you can kind of like follow along with like I can it's someone telling a story for the most part. They're setting a joke and whatever. If it's music, like I love lyrics a lot, but I might not catch everything they're saying, but you can get absorbed the music. With poetry, I was an English major, so like I like it and like would have to like learn how to break certain stuff down. But I still a lot of times like I'm more visual with it. I need it like the words in front of me sometimes. So it was nice because like I was really able to get more of what you're saying here, and with the open mics, like I can kind of catch what's going on while having to focus. Like, all right, well, this person's coming up next, and I have to film this thing, and let me talk to someone else. But with the poetry, it's really hard for me to do that, and I don't, because I'm the host. Not that everyone's always looking at me regardless, but I feel like I'm still sort of a face or representative for it. So like if I'm watching stand up or I'm like watching music, I'm like this. If I'm poetry, because I have to think of the words, I'm just like like because I'm visualizing the words, I need to like almost not look at the
Oh
person.
yes. Yes. I know exactly what you're speaking
Like,
to.
oh yeah, I'm totally with you. I'm really feeling what you're doing.
And then you look away from that.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. You're absolutely right. Poetry is the only discipline where you can just be like, well, music you can have a conversation while like good, like like with music in the background, depending on the environment. But nah, with poetry, like I'm really honing in.
Yeah,
Like you see the back end there.
I can't tell you how much I need to do this to focus right now.
That's really funny, man. Yeah, you're right about that. I do that too. Oh my gosh, I'm notorious for it.
Yeah, I don't know how. I'm sure you have a lot of people that you would want to interview. I don't know how many times that you would need to do this. The point that you would need to do a second interview, but this is awesome. I love being a part of this. Will eventually have multiple questions of like how your like version of like how you set these up, because I want to do stuff similar to this as well without trying to take your spotlight thing. I'm sure there's space for both of us because I've told a few people like, oh, I would like to like interview musicians. Is that like an oversaturated market? And a few musicians like, nope, we had someone or one or two people and now they're just gone and now there's not a place for it as much. So
Wow.
like of all the things I would love to do, that's something that I just like. I love bullshitting and pulling apart little things. I love to like get every little insight or whatever. So that or like poetry related stuff, like I could talk shit all day about this. So,
Let's do it. Yeah, man. As I said, it will not be the last time we will be collaborating. I think, this is again. I had a ton of fun just chatting it up and chopping it up with you today. It was funny. I mean, I think had we recorded our talk at the bar, that would have been the episode right there. Like we would have we would have locked it in. But no, I think yeah, man. I mean, as I said, always engaging speaking with you, and iron sharpens iron, and light, sparks light. So I think, let's keep doing this. I look forward to supporting you in 2025. I haven't performed yet, by the way. Like, this is my first, my first performance of the year is going to be at Hot People Read Poetry.
Nice. When is that?
Yeah. So that's Friday. And then that's in Bushwick, not too far from Ridgewood. So having people know that there are different options in terms of entertainment. It's like people do so many different things, and like everything doesn't always have to be like $200 a pop. You don't always have to go to a Broadway show. Like, where there's entertainment wherever you want at every level. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I think I found it within poetry and like music appreciation. Like that's but yeah, man. I mean, listen, I think, as I said, I mean, I can't express enough gratitude, and I can't explain how supportive I am of you, man. So I'm looking forward to, again, just chopping it up with you, even just socially, to next time we just get a chance to connect in person, which is next week, right?
Yep.
All right, I'll see you then.
I'm not afraid to look stupid. The pitfalls that others avoid are my opportunities. Intelligence is appearance. Who has home field advantage in this conversation? I'm not afraid to play away games. This incessant need to be right was our original bubonic plague. The fact that others have to subscribe to our opinions and the fact that we place our morals and ethics into another body reveals the biggest confliction that our life has to offer. I've had the most effective responses and went with the wrong answers because I was afraid of feeling stifled, unheard. Shit. Stupid. Paul.
Woo!
All right. Woo! Now, what do you do with your time left? Fingertips on your soul, losing control with half of your mind left. Looking to do right, no one in sight, feelings of uptight.